is an SABC News presentation.
Good morning and welcome to our first program this week. I'm Kokeli Tanda. This is our final week of broadcast from Parliament in Cape Town, this second term of the 2012 session. The National Assembly adjourned last week, but members still have some committee work to do, including study tours before they can break for the winter recess. The National Council of Provinces also has 2 plenary sessions scheduled for this week. In our program today, we talk to SCOPA Chairperson Themba Godi about the critical situation of the Limpopo Provincial Government. We hear why some political parties had reservations about giving the parliamentary budget the go-ahead. And in the aftermath of this weekend's Youth Day celebrations, we hear what NA and members had to say about the state of the youth in this country. The Standing Committee on Public Accounts, SCOPA, wants the Limpopo Premier and his cabinet to be fired. Earlier, 5 provincial departments were placed under administration by the national government. In a briefing to SCOPA, Treasury revealed that the Premier and his MECs endorsed illegal procurement processes and there was evidence of illegal payments and irregular lease agreements. It also found that the public finance function was dysfunctional and had serious capacity challenges, leading to poor expenditure monitoring and poor budget planning. Millions of unauthorized spending occurred in that province. We earlier spoke to the chairperson of the Standing Committee on Public Accounts and asked him about his assessment of the situation in Limpopo following the meeting with Treasury.
Well, unfortunately, the picture that emerged out of that briefing was one of gross mismanagement of public funds, poor internal controls, and the utter disregard for the prescripts of the law in terms of how funds are managed and how procurement is done.
You say Treasury painted a disturbing picture of gross mismanagement of state resources. Can you give us some specific instances of maladministration?
Quite simple. The ordering of textbooks for schools. The original value that the intervention team found there was 600 million. But when they scrutinized and wanted justification for every cent, it came down to 200 million. So which means it was inflated by about 400 million. But beyond that, if you look at each department, you'll find that there are huge sums of monies that were either mismanaged, that were unauthorized expenditures or irregular expenditure. If you look at the Department of Education, for example, it had 2.2 billion rands of unauthorized expenditure. If you look at the Department of Health, it had accumulated expenditure that could not be justified or verified, of about 2.9 billion. So all those are quite huge sums of monies that are supposed, to offer the people of Limpopo quality services.
You mentioned illegal procurements, illegal payments, irregular lease agreements with costs running into billions of rand. Is there any action taken against those responsible?
Yeah, according to Treasury, more than 30 dockets have been opened with the police for criminal investigations. There are cases that will be handled in terms of the disciplinary processes within departments. But we're happy that at least there are cases that have been referred to the police. Our only wish is that the police should speed up, the cases. However, the one critical element that we're not happy with about the intervention, based on the picture created, was the fact that the political leadership of that province has been left intact. And yet, in terms of the briefing that we got, that executive approved endorsed illegal procurement processes, and there are instances of illegal payments, and irregular lease agreements. Now, for us, any leadership that endorses illegal payment, mismanagement of funds, has no basis whatsoever to remain in its post. So the intervention should, in our view, have actually removed the political leadership, Because what you're having right now is that you are going to sort out administration and hand it back to the same political leadership that was responsible for allowing things to collapse in the first instance.
But firing the entire provincial executive, does that not have the potential to paralyze the whole administration? Why would you do that when the culprits are known?
What administration is there? I mean, if you have a province going bankrupt, I don't want to believe that there's an administration, because you see, the problems in that province have been politically manufactured. They are not purely a product of administrative weaknesses. The administrative challenges that are there are actually merely a symptom of the political rot that is set in. We know that that province had a very strong and well-functioning treasury that supervised and ensured that things were done accordingly. That province was using a commercial banker that had the necessary systems to ensure that there is no abuse of funds. And what did the political leadership do? They changed the commercial bank they were using to another bank. They removed the MEC and the HOD in Treasury who were responsible for ensuring that things are managed properly, and put in people who allowed things to go dysfunctional.
Mr. Godi, national government also intervened in the Eastern Cape. Any progress report with regard to the situation there?
Well, we did not specifically ask about the Eastern Cape. However, if reports that we've heard are anything to go by, we certainly are worried. I will be communicating with the Minister of Basic Education to get confirmation and verification about the reports that we've received, and to check what it is that they are doing to investigate the reports that we've got, so that if we're satisfied that they have taken the necessary measures, we'll await their reports. If not, I think we are going to definitely intervene, because it is totally unacceptable, the situation in the Eastern Cape.
Treasury, though, did brief you about the financial situation in the Department of Women, Children and People with Disabilities. What emerged from that report?
Well, unfortunately, we had to stop the hearing midstream, because we're not satisfied with the level of details around the figures that were at hand. And so we've said they should go back, ensure that they bring detailed information that we can use for purposes of making a determination. However, what is very clear is that I don't think that that department is being properly managed. I don't think that they have strong leadership. I'm not sure about the political leadership, but certainly what we see from the administrative side is not encouraging.
What do you mean, not encouraging?
Well, I think their ability to manage the resources of that department and ensure that they operate within budget, I think that is going to be a challenge unless and until they have a very strong team.
There have been reports that irregular spending in that department runs into millions of rands. What picture were you given by Treasury?
Well, you see, the picture we got here was that there was usage of money beyond the budget on things like traveling, accommodation, cellular phones, which we think are things that can be controlled. But however, when you look year on year, you realize that actually, instead of things going down for the better, things are actually going for the worse. And I think the committee took a very, very strong position on this matter. And I think the next time we meet with them, there is not going to be any relent on our part, because there is no way in which we are going to condone the extravagant usage of money, especially at a time when we know that we're running on deficits as a country, lest we become Greece.
Our time is running out, Mr. Godi. Now that your committee have received the report on Limpopo, what is likely to happen?
Well, what's going to happen is that we are going to meet and decide on a date to visit the province. Actually, our intention is to visit the province, meet with the intervention team, meet with the officials and also the political leadership. But we wanted to do that only after getting this briefing. So I'm sure around August, since we're going on recess soon, we'll definitely go to that province and interact with all the role players.
Finally, Mr. Godi, in your capacity as leader of the APC, the replacement of the National Commissioner of Police and the cabinet reshuffle, what's your take?
Well, cabinet reshuffle, well, no one could have predicted it. The removal of Bheki, or General Bheki Cele, I think it was to be expected, taking into account everything that has happened. However, I think that is the APC. If everyone were to be held to the standard that Bheki Cele has been held, surely there are a lot of people who should be out in government. And if we don't sustain that, that line, it will as well be that Bheki Cele became a victim, much more than that government has a consistent line in dealing with issues of maladministration. As for the new commissioner, she's a competent and capable person that we congratulate, but she's going into a different organization that has its own subculture. The extent to which we'll be able to settle in and win the senior managers around her is going to determine whether she succeeds or not.
Mr. Themba Godi is the chairperson of SCOPA and the leader of the African People's Convention. Thank you very much for coming through.
Thank you.